Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this meeting of the City Council to order on Tuesday, June 16th. I will entertain roll call from Clerk Meredith.
Mayor Watkins is with us via Zoom this evening. Vice Mayor Samily?
Here.
Councilmember Dykens?
Here.
Councilmember Savage?
Here.
Councilmember Staley?
Present.
Councilmember Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Ward?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Our next item is the invocation given by Pastor Pete Ernst of the Family Bible Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Savage will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please stand?
Shall we pray? Father God, as we approach Father's Day this coming Sunday, we give you thanks that as our Heavenly Father, you provide every good and perfect gift to us. What you require in return is our wholehearted faith, praise, worship, and service. We give thanks for the joy and privilege of living in these United States as we approach our nation's 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence from those who would have held us captive. We readily declare our dependence on you as our God and sovereign, our High King of heaven. Would you bless this meeting this evening with our mayor, each of these city council members, our police chief and his department, our fire chief and his department, and every man and woman serving this beloved community. Would you give these council members humble wisdom, and may they pay homage to you as our creator and savior, and to this flag representing our nation's freedoms and liberties granted by you. There can be no freedom without fence posts, no liberty without limiting ourselves. Left to ourselves, we will end up left to ourselves. Grant us the moral compass that will help us set a straight course for the city's direction. For you and you alone are true north. Give us the moral courage to make godly choices, not self-centered decisions fitting our own agendas. We humbly give you thanks and bow before your kingdom rule in our lives and government. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431-.03A3 to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. First on the agenda, we have awards and recognition. This is the America's 250th Anniversary Day Proclamation that I will go ahead and read. Whereas on July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, proclaiming the 13th American colonies to be free and independent states. And whereas the founding of our nation was rooted in the enduring principles of liberty, equality, justice, self-governance, and whereas for 250 years the United States of America has stood as a beacon of hope and opportunity, strengthened by courage, sacrifice, and determination of generations of Americans. And whereas throughout our nation's history, Americans have worked to expand the blessings of freedom, uphold democratic institutions, and strive towards a more perfect union. And whereas the semi-quincentennial celebration provides an opportunity for all citizens to reflect upon our shared history, honor the contributions of those who have shaped our communities, and inspire future generations to continue the work of civic engagement and public service. And whereas the 250th anniversary of our nation marks not only a milestone in history, but also a renewed commitment to the ideals set forth in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. Now, therefore, I, Chair Samley, on behalf of Ken Watkins, Mayor of the City of Kingman, do hereby proclaim July 4th, 2026, America's 250th Anniversary Day, and encourage all residents to join the Daughters of the American Revolution in commemorative activities educational programs, and community events that celebrate our nation's heritage and reaffirm our dedication to the principles of freedom and democracy. Witnessed here thereof, Ken Watkins, Mayor, attested our clerk, Annie Meredith. I will go ahead and invite, we do have a representative, Jacqueline Schrock. Would you like to come up and speak on behalf of the Daughters of the American Revolution? And then we'll gather for a photo.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We thank you so much for being willing to acknowledge that we have a momentous event coming up here. We're thrilled that we can anticipate it, and we just encourage everybody in Kingman to be able to use the 4th of July events that we normally have to pull our community together. I would like to be able to identify that the Daughters of American Revolution are a service organization of women who promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism, and that's why we're all about this America 250. And we are descendants of patriots who served in the American Revolution, providing services or serving in the war in one way or another. And so one of the things I'd like to do is just read our American's Creed, which is it's like the pledge, but in 1917 it was made as a motto to be able to honor our patriots. The American's Creed. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy within a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
May
much,
I-
Jacqueline. If you want to call your group up, council, will you join me for a photo, please?
First, we have some presentations here. I'm Nancy Shepard, the Vice Regent of Lewis Kingman Chapter of DAR. I have a gold coin here for Vice Mayor. And of course, we can't leave out the women in our lives. One for you. That's for you.
You can set it here if you want. A beautiful proclamation.
And of course, you need jewelry. And then the men get coins. Keep that in your pocket. If you talk to somebody about not DAR.
About
the
America 250.
America 250, you pass it on to them so that they can pass it on to someone else. And this is for the mayor.
Squeeze in a little bit. Yeah. Scooch in, scooch in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sarah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, we get to keep it.
All right, we'll move on to call to the public. If anyone would like to exit, they may. And then we'll move on to call to the public. All right, thank you. Call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Comments to the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advocate for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The council may not respond during call to the public. The council may direct the city manager to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. And we do have some signed up for call to the public. Wayne Hollins, you're first, and then Stephanie Williams, you'll be after Wayne.
Vice Mayor and council members. My name is Wayne Holland. I live in Golden Valley, and I work with the Big Sandy NRCD on their water conservation education program. I just attended here recently the groundwater program here from the 3 universities that came here on the groundwater. We have a problem with evaporation and transpiration. Actually, mainly evaporation, because that's water that's disappearing into the atmosphere before it's being used by any plant or animal or anybody else. So they didn't go into how we fix that, but to fix that, we got to have a way to get the material to put on the ground that will slow the water down, cool the temperature down so we don't have so much evaporation, and plant plants and trees and what have you that will transpire that water vapor into the air so it can come down as rain again. If we're not doing that, we're wasting our resources and stuff. We use 5 inches of rain throughout the county, give us 3.59 million acre feet of water annually. We're short a little over 50,000 being recharged, and there's a lot of things going on where we want to desalinate water and ship it over here and pipeline from wherever here. But if we can't get the 50,000 acre feet into the ground with the rain that we get now, what good is this extra water going to do? Where are we going to put it? We can't, we're going to have to spend more money to put it in the ground so we can pump it back out. So we need to do things that doesn't put it in the ground and use that water first, because there's obviously plenty of it if we just get the 5 inches of rain. The problem with the evaporation, we get 5 inches of rain, but we get 154 inches of evaporation, pan evaporation, that there it goes. So we need to do something like that. We also did the drought contingency plan, and one of the things was education and community involvement. I'm willing to go on First Fridays or any other opportunity with your water manager here and provide information to the citizens of what they can do to help save our water and put the water into the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollins. Stephanie Williams? Miranda Herring, you'll be up next. Welcome.
Okay, so over the past several weeks, I have worked extensively with community members, transit riders, local organizations, elected officials, and state representatives regarding the proposed elimination of the CART yellow route serving New Kingman, Butler, Birdland, and surrounding areas. Through this effort, I have ridden the route, collected petitions and letters from affected residents, attended city council meetings, reviewed budget documents, transit plans, commission agendas and minutes, and submitted multiple public records requests. I have also engaged with county officials, public health representatives, transit staff, ADOT, and other stakeholders to better understand the decision-making process and its impact on vulnerable populations. I have had the opportunity to discuss these concerns with Arizona State Senator Hildy, other community leaders who also share an interest in ensuring residents maintain access to essential transportation services. These conversations have focused on the needs of seniors, individuals with disabilities, veterans, low-income residents, and those who rely on public transit to reach medical appointments, employment, education, recovery services, and other critical destinations. I never stutter till I get here, like, stupid. My goal through this process has been simple: to ensure that all relevant facts, funding requirements, community impacts, and legal obligations are fully understood before a vital public service is permanently removed. Regardless of differing opinions on public transit policy, I believe the decision of this magnitude should be transparent, data-driven, and informed by meaningful public participation. I remain committed to working collaboratively with city officials, county leaders, state representatives, transit agencies, and community members to explore situations or solutions that preserve mobility and access for those who depend on it most. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miranda Herring? Hi, welcome.
Hi. Hi, my name is Miranda Herring. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm one of the ladies from Angel Manor. I've been there for over 15 months. I use Yellow Bus constantly. I work at Dollar Tree. I have 3 children. They're 7, 6, and 4. And I also use the Yellow Bus to take them to daycare, the dentist appointments, regular doctor's appointments, etc. Also the grocery store. I also have a husband that I got married inside Angel Manor that goes to Burger King. He also uses the Yellow Bus. So I believe the Yellow Bus being taken out will be detrimental to all of us in the Yellow Bus route. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ann Lynch? Welcome.
My name is Ann Lynch. I'm a Kingman resident, and I've got a short thing to read. I submit that proper fact-finding was not completed prior to the decision to terminate the CART's yellow route. I saw no evidence in the city council minutes that any new ridership figures were obtained. The last published information on the city website was the CART short and long-term transit plan from February 2022, based on data from 2019. Some of the data was as follows. Quote, low income and zero car households, youth and seniors, and people with disabilities have a higher likelihood of using transit, end quote. These are some of our most needy groups in the city. Quote, population density is one of the most important factors when determining the success of public transportation, end quote. The included map shows New Kingman and Butler area as one of the highest density and is currently served by the yellow route. The data tables for each of the 4 individual routes show that yellow route had the highest number of average weekday boardings and annual ridership. Yellow route also had the lowest cost per rider and the highest percent of money recovered through fares at 30%. The primary use of CART by riders showed 81% of the riders used transit for shopping and errands. This might affect the amount of shopping done by people coming in, which could lower our sales tax revenues. Also, 61% of the riders say they used it for medical appointments and for getting prescriptions. The numbers total more than 100% because many riders used it for multiple reasons. Yellow route was so heavily used that one of the study outcomes suggested was yellow be split into 2 routes. That was not done. I don't know why. I couldn't find any reason, but you council members can look at this report. It's on the City of Kingman's website on the CART page under that heading of the short and long-term planning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tracy Veen. Hello, welcome.
Hi there, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing us to speak. I also am from Angel Manor Incorporated, and although I don't use the yellow bus, I do know that it really just needs to stay in place. I believe that, if not something better, would be fine. But there are so many people who use it. They use it for their children. I was driving around today in a diligent job search, and the heat out there is just, you live here, I'm sure most of you, it was pretty intense. And I think that's a great factor in people having to walk and to try to get around when these ladies and the men that are in the ministry are working so diligently and hard to recover their lives and become productive tax-paying citizens and members back into the community. So I just wanted to come and say that I believe that the yellow bus should stay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Veronica Renteria.
Thank you,
Hello.
Vice Mayor
Welcome.
and council members. My name is Veronica Renteria, and I'm also with Angel Manor. I rarely take the yellow bus, but I know there are many women there with children who they work and they drop their children off for childcare or doctor's appointments and grocery shopping, and it would be very hard for them to, do any of this without transportation of the yellow bus. I believe that many of them, find hardship in having no cars or anyone with cars that can take them there. So I believe without this, it'd be very hard for them, with the children and walking distance, everything's so far away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wendy Weaver.
Thank you,
Welcome.
council. Thank you. My name is Wendy Weaver, and I'm the director of Angel Manor Recovery Homes in Kingman. I have 3 homes and a school in the area that the yellow bus runs in. I house about 40 people at a time, women, men, children, elderly, handicapped, some with mental health issues, and all trying to recover their lives from addiction and other things that they've gone through. Just about every single person in my ministry rides the yellow bus. After my people have 45 days of becoming clean and sober, they are required to get around on the yellow bus. They no longer can be driven around by myself or my staff. They have to learn how to be independent. They need to get jobs, and it's nearly impossible to save if you have to call a cab or a Lyft to get yourself to work in the city. My understanding is, and it's very strange to me, and some things I just don't understand, I'm not that smart. My understanding is that there's a problem maybe with money coming from county to help support this bus that runs through the county part of our community. However, I also understand that all the money comes to the city from the federal government, from the state, from whatever the funding is. It actually is to the city. The other thing I know for sure is we don't have anything in county. We don't have a grocery store. We don't have doctor's offices. We don't have court. We don't have drug testing facilities. We don't have DCS, and we don't have the access offices and DES. They're all in city limits. So we come into the city on the bus and spend our money and do our grocery shopping and go to the doctors. Our money is not being spent in the county. It's being spent in the city. We work in the city. City people own the businesses, but we are the workers. I don't know what would happen on August 1st should the bus not come get everybody that comes in to go to work. It just seems like a really incredible thing to me that would even be considered. My biggest concern is that if this does happen, there will be a huge uptake in crime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we're moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? No? I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll entertain a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to action item number 4A, consideration of AB 25-005, a request to abandon right-of-way associated with Broadway Avenue. If approved, AB 25-0005 would result in the potential sale of the right-of-way and eliminate Broadway Avenue Public Road as described from the city's maintenance system and reserve easement for the benefit of the City of Kingman for public utilities and access. Staff recommends the item be continued off calendar. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Watkins, Vice Mayor Samily, and Council. Thank you. As you stated, AB 25-0005 is being recommended to be continued off calendar. That is at the request of the applicant. And should that applicant choose to continue this process moving forward in the future, this item would be republished and renoticed and reheard at that time.
All right, thank you. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Action item 4B, 2026 Kingman Route 66 Street Drags event scheduled for October 9th through 11th, 2026. Planning is underway for the 2026 Kingman Route 66 Drags. As part of the event, the organizer is required to provide liability insurance. This item is seeking council direction regarding event and required insurance coverage. Council discretion. I believe that is you, Tim.
That is me. Thank you, Vice Mayor. This item here, as is mentioned, the street drags are in preparation mode right now. We've had a number of meetings with the organizers. One of the items that has come up has been insurance and basically coming up with a number that council is comfortable in considering for a liability insurance. So wanted to get that in front of council, get your thoughts, see where you're at as far as what you'd like to see as far as liability goes, and then that way we can continue to work on with the organizers and let them know what that direction is. So.
All right, thank you. Council, I would like to go into executive session with your permission. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll be back. All right. Thank you so much for your patience. We do have a few questions for a few individuals. So first of all, I'd like to call up is the applicant here? The event someone representing the event?
Council, I'm Dana Marino.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Council have just a few questions, just for some clarification. So,
Okay.
who wants to start?
I'll go first. Dana,
Hi.
thank you for being here. Part of the concern is the liability factor. We all know that's always an issue with an event like this. My question is, because I couldn't remember, does down by Napa, where the end of the race basically is, that's where they're hitting top speed, are there bleachers there?
There are bleachers probably about 30 feet this way of the actual inline. But yes, but they're all sitting within the 50-foot setback that's required.
But at the end of the track, correct? There are some?
Not
Well,
at
the end of the finish line, I should say.
not at the very end of the
So they're at
finish
the
line.
front.
They're in
bleachers
front
are
of
at the front,
those,
at the
yes.
starting line.
About 30 feet off that, 25 feet off that.
Just because I'm thinking that if there happened to be an accident, it's gonna be more along the lines where they're getting closer to their top speed. If anything, they're gonna fly over the rail.
That's correct. They'll be at top speed at the,
Right, so I wanna, if we can keep as much as possible spectators off the finish line, so to speak, that might help with the liability a little bit.
Okay,
Okay, that's my first concern. I think there's other concerns as well.
okay.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
Is this the same insurance company that you've dealt with in prior years?
The
or-
last two
Last two
events, yes.
Okay, and.
We
have
had
you
eight
shopped and tried
THE
to
before
find
that. I'm sorry.
Anybody else? Have you tried to find another
The
company? to
company
cover
that
this?
was used for, prior to the Route 66 street drags, when you had street drags here before, was THE. And they no longer insure small events.
Okay. And then my other question was, how many participants will be here? Any idea?
We take up to a maximum of 300. The 2019, we hit 317. About 26 people didn't show up, so that was our biggest year. We averaged, last year, we had 227, and we were short about 31
Okay.
of those people.
And then how many spectators do you expect for the weekend?
For the Centennial, I believe over the 3-day period, we'll hit that 15,000 mark, yes.
Okay.
Anybody
I
else?
hope we hit, that's what my budget's on, so I hope that's what we hit.
Anybody else have any questions? I am curious to know your insurance liability right now is at 5 million, is that correct?
Yes, 1 million general liability with an excess of 5.
Okay.
Laura Bauer called me, or emailed me this morning and asked me to find out what an additional would be.
And do you have that
And-
figure?
And I've already got the sample policy to be reviewed at 5 million excess, so a total of 6 million.
Total of 6 million, and what's that extra million costing you?
$2,250.
Okay, so you'll have a total of 6 million, okay?
Can I have one more?
Of course.
Could you ask her if you were to bump it another million and get us all the way to 10, just see what that would be?
She already told me no.
That's
And I
max
sent that
then.
email I actually took the quote and I sent it to Laura Bauer that she said that they could not go. You wanted general liability upped, and they won't do it.
They won't do it.
They'll only do it in excess, and 6 was their cap.
6 is their cap.
The 6 was this company's cap, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Oh, we did have a question. You're on a timeline, correct? Can you talk about that timeline for us?
Yes. Yes, what's it for? I have deposits that I have to make on grandstands. I have deposits I have to make on timing lighting systems, the trusses, all those things to the tune of about $40,000. And I've got to get that in so that I can secure those items for the event. There's other events going on, and I've asked them to hold off, and they're doing the best they can. But in productions down, they do the big golf tournaments, the WM golf tournaments. They want 50% up front before they even show up to build them, and then they want the balance when they get here. So I've got some, it sounds like a lot of time for you guys. 3 months is a lot of time. It isn't when you're building something like this. There's a lot of vendors involved and a lot of sponsors involved and a lot of people making plans involved. And if we're going to shut it down, we need to make that decision. So.
And what is that date?
I don't have a drop date. We had a drop date and we pushed it off because council was going to
Okay.
talk about this.
Okay, so time is of the essence.
So we are relying on council's guidance, yes.
All right, anybody else have any questions?
One more.
Councilor Walker.
So your insurance agent, you did ask them, is there another company that would back up this one?
She said they could go searching for one.
Can we-
I'm working directly with the underwriters this year. We were trying to cut out the middle broker because it was taking so long. If you've been with us before on this process, we start 3 months ahead and we end up getting our policy 2 weeks before the event because it goes back and forth between council, the broker, and everything. So I called the insurance company myself and I said, can I work directly with your underwriters? And they said, absolutely. So we've been working directly with the underwriters and things have been coming out a lot faster on their end because of that.
Okay,
So-
I'm just concerned, if this one company will only go to 5 million or the 6 million, can we get another company to come in for a secondary policy behind that one?
Okay, what I've been told in racing is that when you put in a secondary policy, number one, they fight for who's going to be in position one, who's going to take the brunt of it, who's going to be backup. And the other is they start looking at risk. If you think you need another 5 million, then maybe this isn't something we want to do. And so that was a concern. Let's talk about expense. The policy right now, as it stands, costing me $25,000. Doubling that is not within our budget. It's just not a possibility for us, based on our expenses.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I think council wanted to call up Chief Cooper. Do we still want to hear from Chief Cooper? Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Just wanted to hear how you mitigate this particular weekend as far as safety, risk, liability, all the things.
So we're prepared to provide a team for the peak hours, Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday. So it'll be 4 officers and a sergeant that'll be assigned to that. And we're going to coordinate. I was actually communicating with Dana this week. We're going to coordinate with their security team that they have hired for that event as well. So we'll make sure communication's open with them. And then responsibilities are pretty clear, what they're actually responsible for. We're not going to get in the way of what they're actually responsible for, part of the permit, their liquor license and everything. We're just there to provide a police presence as well and to take any enforcement action that exceeds what they're capable of handling.
Okay, great. Council, any questions for Chief Cooper? Councilor Staley?
Yeah. As we're having this discussion about risk and what kind of policy would make everyone feel comfortable with this type of event, my questions are really about whether or not we're doing everything within our control to make this a safe event. I know things happen, accidents happen, but do you feel comfortable that their safety plan is really going to, the extremes of looking at every possible option of what could go wrong that is within our control to keep things safe?
Right.
And that was very muddied, that question, but
Well,
do
it's
you
very-
feel like everything's being done that we could
Yes.
possibly do to make it a safe event?
So it's very broad. I can definitely speak with confidence on the police side. I'm comfortable moving forward with what we're doing.
Okay.
I can't speak to fire department. They have different restrictions and rules or requirements. And I do know from previous events that they do work closely with there's drag racing officials that make sure certain things are in place. So I do feel very comfortable with that.
Okay.
Regards how it's set up and what the barriers are. But again, I don't want to speak too much into those things, but as far as public safety policing goes, I am very comfortable with it.
And I understand Chief Yeager's not here tonight, but I understand he's in those meetings with you and.
He has
and
a
they're
staff
working
member
with
that's
him?
there.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council, did we want to call up Daniel? Is he here still? Hi there, welcome. We're still on the safety track. So we know that you did some assessment of the K-rail and have some things to report. We'd just like an assessment.
Yeah, just to be transparent, some of the K-rail that they do possess is probably not the best suited for what they're using it for. They do have several pieces that are in good condition, but there are pieces that are probably outside of compliance from an Arizona standard. Now, whether or not they're being used as something alternative, whether we want to adhere them to that standard or not is, from a special event standpoint, I'm not sure that that's where council's at with that. But if they were to be used outside of this special event for their intended purposes, they would probably be scrutinized pretty hard and maybe turned away in a lot of cases.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Daniel?
I think Tim.
Follow up? Tim?
Dan, can you elaborate on, I mean, you said they have several that are in good condition that they could use for this.
Yeah.
How many would you say that wouldn't be used for this? And then maybe it would be proper to ask Dana if she, had other uses for the ones that weren't up to speed or up to par on this. And I don't know if you have that number. I know you just recently went out and inspected.
Yeah, so I would need to get with Dana because their plans didn't indicate exactly how many sticks they are putting and their placement. I think that if we looked at what she has in inventory and weighted against their plans, there could be a solution there to put the pieces that are in good shape and make sure that we pin and stretch and do our diligence and make sure that, we have the best pieces in place. And then if they wanted to use the other ones to delineate pedestrian traffic or block other areas, I think that there's some resolve there doing it that way.
Okay.
Possibly.
Any other questions?
Just to clarify, we are going to ensure that we're using the ones that are still up to standard in those areas to protect the crowd.
If there are enough, yes. Yeah, we would definitely start with the best ones first. I would hope that that's their intentions.
We're going to require that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think that goes without saying. I mean, thank you for the clarification, but I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much. Dana, did you want to come back up and address the K-rail? Mhm. Did you have anything to add to what Daniel said?
Yeah, other than, I don't know how many pieces he found unsatisfactory, but normally down at the far end of the track, after they're coming off the track, we have to guide them away from DPS. And those are where we use those pieces, is to guide them off to DPS. We put all the strongest units always within the high-speed area, and the rest of it's shut down. But we do have 1,360 feet of shutdown, and on two sides of the road. That's a lot of K-rail. A lot of K-rail. For those of you who don't know, those K-rails are about 8,000 pounds apiece. So they're pretty heavy duty. And he's right, locking them in is what we do. And, but the ones at the end that are either don't have the eye-pins, Daniel, I don't know if that's the correct phrase for that. The eye-pins, we use them to guide them off the track. So they go up and around and away from DPS, as they've requested us to do.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think council wanted to call up Josh Noble. And I promise we're going to get to you, Brittany. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I think the council's discussion was along the lines of revenue, TPT, sales tax, what happens that weekend, what kind of trending are we seeing? So if you could speak to those figures.
Yes, Vice Mayor, members of council, I can speak to what numbers I can see, and I know Ms. Gish will have additional input to give that's beyond what I'm able to pull from my resources. So I pull data from our hotel reports, those are from CoStar. We can look at the weekend of the event and then surrounding weekends and identify what the impact is on the daily rate and the occupancy. And we do see an impact. We see on average about 15% higher occupancy on the weekend of the street drags versus surrounding weekends. And there's also about a, depending on, I looked at 2023 and 2024, a 9 to 14% increase in average daily rate. So it's making an impact. If we look at our cellular data and we identify how many people are coming in to the event, we then look at how many people are coming in from 50 miles away or further. That's the standard for economic impact for out-of-towners. We come up with a total of 10,800 visits and 2,320 out-of-town visitors over those 2 days. We also look at our economic impact study that we had done that lets us know how many people are in a party, and the average is 3.1 people. From that, we can identify 748 people who are coming in and staying overnight. Over those 2 nights, we're able to identify that that's about $174,000 that they're spending at the hotels. Then we also can look at our economic impact statement and say, okay, when a party comes in and they stay overnight, how much money do they spend? And that's $363 per party per day. If we take out the spend that they're doing at the hotels and we look at how much then they're spending at restaurant, retail, gas, that sort of thing, it's about $368,000. So overall, we're having about a $550, 60 million, or $100,000 that people are spending coming into Kingman during the event. And that's the numbers that I see, but I know there's some figures Brittany sees from Thursdays and Sundays that I'm not able to capture in this data.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, did you have any questions? Need additional information? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council, was there anyone else other than who's signed up to speak that you wish to call up? No? All right. Brittany Gish.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Council. I just wanted to share some additional data. So Josh is pulling averages. One, I want to start with business impact for us. So for that weekend, we're talking October now versus May. May is a big tourism time. October is a lower impact zone, so street drags moving to October definitely has a bigger impact on our bottom line. If you guys were to cancel the street drags today for that weekend, I would lose about $38,000, and I have 4 months to recoup that. But I've already been turning people away from that weekend, so that would definitely have an impact on our business. And I would say I know that for sure. I'm not the only person that has bookings for this event. Some information I wanted to share, just as far as TPT that is generated, we expect to probably generate $4,000 in TPT tax that weekend alone for the city, just taking it at that 6.5% based on what our average rates are. I don't know if you had the numbers from Josh in your packet, but for him, average daily rate was about 116, 117. Average rate for us for just street drags is 165. So definitely higher rated business coming in for that event. They're coming for a special event. They're willing to pay more money for that. I would be happy to answer any questions that I can if you
I did have a question, just because you know a lot about your industry. So can you tell me how many hoteliers there are in the city?
There are 19 true hotels in Kingman.
Okay, all right. Okay. Any questions?
Depending on if the Avid's open, that would be 20.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody else have any questions? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, council. Tim, do you want to be clear on what you're asking from us as far as our discretion this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. I think the question really is the council's level of comfort as far as what that insurance dollar figure needs to be. Where do we want to be as far as an insurance liability standpoint? And that would really help us in working with the event in order to come to a decision on where we need to go.
Thank you. That being said, council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Walker?
It's on, I'm sorry. I would say I'd be comfortable with 6 minimum. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with 10, but 6 is my minimum.
Okay. Councilor Savage?
I'm in the same boat with 10, but 6 is fine. With the revenue base from the tourism, and wait, Dana, can I ask you a question, please, real quick?
Come forward. We'll need you to speak into the mic. Otherwise our mayor can't hear us.
Glad we could help. On that 6 million, you said that was gonna be 2250?
2250 for that extra million.
Correct?
That's correct.
And do you need help with that? Or are you able to secure that extra million?
I have other things I need covered that we were talking about before, so, that we can't cover. So those bigger numbers are the ones that I was looking for help with.
Well, based on some of the numbers that we're having and the income that we do get in, the city does have, we can cover probably that extra million to help a little bit. But the bottom line is, if the insurance happens to run out, the claims run out, the city's gonna be held liable. That's what we're trying to avoid if we can. I don't have a problem with the 6 million and helping you with that extra million. Because I know we'll make it up in the extra revenue, and that's not coming out of general fund, it's money we can anticipate coming in. So I don't have a problem with that.
Councilor Dykens?
I'm going to be the bad guy here. I disagree completely. I believe 6 million would be the rock bottom, but I don't think the city should be responsible for a dime of it. This is their event. They should provide the insurance coverage, because if something does happen, then we may be getting involved where we don't want to, or having to cover where we don't want to. So as far as the 6 million, I'm against the city paying a dime in support of that.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Staley?
Yeah, I think this is a really important event for our community. I know a lot of people really enjoy it, and we survive on tourism, so we want to support that. And I really hope that we can find a compromise so that we can put in an insurance limit that will protect our community, but also allow you to keep doing your event. So for me, the safety part is very important, mitigating risk as much as we possibly can. If 6 million is all you can get, then, I understand you've been working really hard to find coverage. And I agree, that's a minimum. I think we'd all feel more comfortable if it was 10, but if that's not possible, then I would say in order to keep the event able to move forward and to happen this year, then I'm okay with 6.
Councilor Ward?
I would like to see 10, but I understand the problems, and I would go along with the 6 as a minimum.
Okay, thank you. I think we will all like to see 10. I mean, that's not unrealistic.
So
but I mean, what's realistic is what you can get. So,
And may I say something?
Of course.
My board's gone back and forth about changing the price of the ticket. And we know that a lot of Kingmanites can't afford high-end things, and we have chosen again this year to keep it at $20 for the entire day, which they can come and go. They have bands, they can go home, they can go wherever and come and go during the event time for $20. And it wasn't unanimous. I voted no. I'd like to raise the price, but my board felt that it was important so that as many Kingmanites could come to this event and bring their kids and bring their families and make it an event for the whole family. So that's one of our reasons we struggle with money, is because even $5 is a difference of about $40,000. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to keep things affordable, so you have the attendance. I hope this is a really big year for you, and I hope you get the attendance and the weather holds and all the things are perfect for that day. I'm okay with 6. I too would like to see it higher, but I think that we're gonna try to work with you. So I think
Thank you.
council has given their direction, and we don't need a motion. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to item 4C, amended approval of CASI settlement agreement. CASI leased Hangar A on June 1st, 2008. The hangar is located at 9900 Flight Line Drive, Kingman, Arizona. It's approximately 20,800. It's approximate. I lost my place. I lost the whole thing.
Can you hear that?
This one's down. This one's down too. Testing, testing. This one's down too. You want this back? I'm live again. Okay. Now I lost my place. It is approximately 20,800 square feet. The lease terminated on August 5th, 2025. During the term of the lease, CASI conducted aircraft maintenance, including but not limited to painting. Upon CASI vacating the hangar, the city conducted several inspections. One of those inspections located elevated levels of chromium, which is a common component involved in the aircraft painting process. As per the city's lease with CASI, CASI agrees to remediate the chromium inside of Hangar A. The remediation should be completed within 30 days of the effective date of this agreement. Carl, this is you, I believe.
That's me. I don't know if there's a whole lot I need to go in beyond that description. I think it's pretty straightforward. This is this contaminant that we located after they vacated the property. Through some negotiations back and forth, we've finally managed to get to this point where I think everybody's willing to make sure it gets cleaned up and move on from that process. So.
All right, great. Any questions for Carl? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on to item D, approval of Resolution 5617 declaring the 2026 tax amendments to the tax code of the City of Kingman as a public record. To avoid significant publication costs associated with the tax code amendments proposed in ordinance number 2003, a resolution declaring the 2026 tax amendments to the tax code of the City of Kingman a public record must be approved. This is not an approval of ordinance 2003. It merely allows the city to save publication costs if ordinance number 2003 is approved. Staff recommends approval. Ms. Moline, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Vice Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, council members. So, Vice Mayor, you covered this item very well in the description. The one thing that I do want to just remind, and you already stated it, is that this item is not approval of the public hearing item that is the next agenda item on the council agenda. This is merely adoption of a resolution that will reference the tax code amendments. It includes our city tax code as well. And if the ordinance is approved on the next agenda item, then we would save thousands of dollars in publication costs.
Thank you, Ms. Moline. Any questions for Ms. Moline? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we're moving on to the public hearings. 5A, public hearings. Adoption of ordinance number 2003, amending the tax code to increase the transaction privilege tax rate imposed on selected tax classifications and the adoption of local option 5, two-tier tax rate imposed in the retail and use tax classifications, with the funds to be used for the sole purpose of funding Kingman Street repairs, maintenance, and improvements program. In fiscal year 2024, the City Council adopted a 7-year program to fund street repairs, maintenance, and improvements utilizing general fund reserves that are projected to be fully expended by fiscal year 2030. A recurring revenue source will be necessary to continue the existing program. On March 5th, a work session was held to review transaction privilege tax TPT rate options, the general funds balance, and related policies, community comparison data, and the long-term funding needs of the street maintenance program. On April 7th, the council adopted a notice of intent to consider increasing TPT rates and adding a two-tiered tax rate structure for retail sales and the use tax at a public hearing scheduled for tonight. Staff recommends approval. Ms. Moline.
Thank you again, Vice Mayor, and good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. So this is the final step in the consideration to increase our TPT rates. We have had several meetings. We've had a work session. We have posted things on social media. We have posted reports on our website. We have issued press releases. There have been articles in the newspaper. We have covered this material at the Chamber of Commerce Business and Government meetings and also discussed it at Coffee with the Mayor. So again, this is the last step in this public process. Okay. So I want to start with just covering some basics about TPT. Cities and towns follow what we call a model city tax code. It does align closely with the state tax code, which follows state statute, but there are some additional options that cities are allowed to adopt that the state does not allow in its tax code. So the model city tax code provides a variety of what we call model and local taxing options for cities and towns. One of them we're going to discuss this evening. If a new model or local option wanted to be added to the model city tax code, all of the cities and towns would need to agree. And in addition, the Municipal Tax Code Commission would need to consider it and then ultimately approve it. So it's not easy to add any additional local and model options to the code. So that's the model city tax code. How do our city taxes get spent? Most of our city taxes, what we collect through our regular tax rate, goes to the general fund, which supports all of those services. That includes our police and fire services. It includes parks and recreation, development services, all of the city administration here this evening. We also impose a 1% additional tax rate on our restaurant and bars. Those monies go to fund the street repairs, maintenance, and improvements program, or pavement preservation. And we impose a 4% additional tax on our hotels and motels. 2% of that tax goes to fund tourism activities, and 2% of that tax goes towards capital projects for police and fire and streets and parks and recreation. So streets, how are they funded? That's why we're here this evening. So the streets program is funded through highway user revenues. We collect those through the state. They distribute those to all cities and towns. That's about $4 million, and those monies go to operate the general operations of the streets. So labor, materials, and equipment associated with curbs and sidewalks, our traffic signals, our street signs, weed abatement, drainage. And then we also have our 1% restaurant and bar tax. Generates $1.4 million, and as I shared earlier, that goes towards our pavement preservation. But we know the cost of pavement preservation is much higher than that, and so the City Council did adopt a program to deplete the general fund cash reserves and fund that program through fiscal year 2030. It's another $6.5 million or so on average. but that will deplete the general fund's cash reserves. How do we know that? Because we maintain a 5-year forecast every year. So it allows us to plan. And what we see is that by fiscal year 30 on this chart, you will see fiscal year 30, we will have $19.9 million left in cash reserves in our general fund. That's 31% of our operating expenditures and outgoing transfers. The policy that the council has officially and formally adopted is to maintain a 25% to 50% level. However, the council has an informal policy in place to maintain 30% to 35%. So you'll see at fiscal year 30, which is the end of that 7-year program, we're at 31%. We stay at 32% going into that next year, and that doesn't fund the streets program at all. So moving on to comparisons with other cities and towns. So we always want to compare ourselves to the Tri-City area. We have Bullhead City, Lake Havasu City, and the city of Kingman. And we know that our tax rate is higher than Bullhead City's and Lake Havasu City's. But I wanted to provide this slide to share a little bit more information to ensure that we're comparing apples to apples when we're talking about the services that we're providing to our citizens. So Lake Havasu City does have a 2% retail TPT rate, overall TPT rate, and all of those monies goes towards their general fund, and their general fund does provide police and fire services just like the city of Kingman's. They also have a primary property tax. Those monies also go towards their general fund to provide the services that the general fund supports. If we were to equate that primary property tax to a TPT rate, their rate, and we also include their existing TPT rate, you'll see here that their rate would be closer to 2.4%. Looking at Bullhead City, you'll see that they also have a 2% TPT rate, and those monies go directly to support the general fund's programs and services as well. Bullhead City does provide police services, but they do not provide fire services. Instead, they have a fire district that provides those services. Hence, the fire district tax of about $15.4 million that every property owner within that district is paying. So if we were to equate their TPT rate for general fund services and fire services to a tax rate, it would equate to about 3.3%. And then we know what the city of Kingman's tax rate is, 2.5% to provide police and fire services. We also hear that the city of Kingman's tax rate is one of the highest tax rates in the state of Arizona, and that is not the case. This is data from the Department of Revenue as of March of 2026, and what it shows is that our current rate, which is 2.5%, that first block of blue here in the second column, shows that we're in the bottom third of the highest tax rates. If we were to increase our tax rate to 3%, we would be in the bottom 2/3 of all of the city's tax rates within the state of Arizona. So we are not one of the highest, we do not have one of the highest tax rates in the state of Arizona. But we also don't just look at city tax rates, because when we are consumers, we are paying city tax and we are paying state tax and county tax. Fortunately for us, or for our citizens or people who purchase things here, Mojave County does not have a sales tax, but there is a state tax and a city tax. So when we compare ourselves for total tax rate, you'll see that we are the 8th lowest tax rate, total tax rate in the state of Arizona. If we were to increase that tax rate by 0.5%, we would be at 8.6%, and we are here in the bottom 25 or so cities. Moving on to tonight and what is being brought forth before council this evening and what you are considering. So at the April 7th meeting, council adopted a notice of intent to increase our regular tax rate by 0.5%, our commercial leasing tax rate by 1%, our additional tax on hotels and motels by 1%, and then also looking at the big ticket option. We talked a lot about the big ticket option over the last few months. What is it exactly? It's a tiered rate structure for single item purchases over a certain dollar amount that the city council sets. It's used primarily to recruit and retain business. For our purposes, it's to retain the business. And the tiered rate can be placed on a portion of a single item purchase or the entire single item purchase. The option, it's allowed. It's one of those local options that's allowed within the Model City Tax Code, and it only applies to retail sales purchases and use tax purchases. So it does not apply to utilities, construction, restaurants and bars, hotels and motels, that sort of thing. It only applies to those retail sales and use tax. The council at the April 7th meeting adopted a notice of intent to consider the entire single option with a $10,000 threshold, meaning that anything over $10,000 for that entire single item would be taxed at the lower rate of 2.5%. So how is that calculated? I've got an example here for you. So using that $10,000 threshold and the 2.5% tax rate, if someone was to purchase a golf cart and the cost was exactly $10,000, they would pay a city tax rate of 3% and be charged $300 for that item. If the golf cart was $10,000 and 1 penny, they would be charged 2.5% on the entire purchase, and the tax would be $250. So the big ticket option is something that cities and towns use. There are 28 cities and towns as of March 2026 that utilize this option. As far as whether it is the entire single item or a portion of the single item, it's across the board. As far as the thresholds that are used, the same across the board. Small cities and large cities utilize this. So what is the city fiscal impact for all of the items that are being considered this evening? So the regular tax rate increase with the big ticket option, moving our overall regular rate from 2.5% to 3% will generate about $5.3 million in revenue. That additional 1% on hotels and motels will generate $390,000, and commercial leasing, moving that from 2% to 3%, will generate $360,000 for a total city fiscal impact of just over $6 million. How about our consumers? How will they be impacted? I don't need to go through each of these, but I want to just point out that if I were to go to Home Depot and buy a cordless drill for $100, I'm going to pay an additional 50 cents for that cordless drill. And here are a few different options, a few different examples for you to see. So what are the next steps? The next steps are to hold the public hearing this evening and consider adopting the tax ordinance before you. And then within 10 business days, we will be required to remit that to the Department of Revenue. And then in July and August, the city and the Department of Revenue will notify taxpayers of those rate changes. And then those rates would become effective on September 1st, if it's approved. The city would begin collecting those taxes in sometime mid to late October to early November. Lastly, and certainly not the least important, is tracking and transparency. We know that we're going to want to track the dollars that are coming in for this additional tax and also share how those monies are getting used. So internally, finance will certainly be tracking that. We'll be tracking the revenues, monitoring the expenditures, and then sharing the remaining balance of those revenues on a monthly basis. We will also be posting a report on the website on a monthly basis. Working with the city manager, I'm not sure where that would be posted yet, but that will certainly be shared. And then always we have our transparency portal that anyone can drill into and have access at any time. It's updated every single day, and you can obtain that same information. Maybe not as detailed, but the same information through that site as well. So with that, if the council has any questions for me before the public hearing is held, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Council, questions? Councilor Savage?
I do. Hi, Tina. Can you go back to page six, please? There's been a lot of debate, that's what you want to call it, on social media. I don't know if you're all aware, I'm not on social media, but I see everyone else's when they bring it to my face. I would like everybody to take a screenshot of that picture whether you're here or at home, to see this rate. Now, granted, it's gonna go up to 3%, which is still lower in Bullhead, little higher than Havasu, but there's no property tax and there's no food tax. I just want that, I want that to start flowing around social media, so it might dispel some of the negativity that's going on about this, because that's an important document right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Savage.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Question? Counselor Walker?
Yeah, Ms. Moline, on page 13, you're showing 6.9 million increase with which option?
What the council adopted, thank you,
just
Councilman
want that
Walker.
to be
Yeah,
clear.
it is what council adopted at the April 7th meeting. So it is the entire, for the big ticket option, is that what you're referring to? It is the entire single item purchase. So the entire amount, if it exceeds $10,000, it will be taxed at the lower rate.
Okay, just wanted that out there. Thank you.
Any other comments? Questions? I do just have a couple of comments. This is the most diverse tax option that is available to us. You know, it catches a little bit of everybody. We heard what the hotel motel industry is like, and you know, they're getting hit, but that's our tourism industry, and they're willing to pay that to come here. I like the big ticket option. Years ago, I see several car dealers in the audience there, and it was talked about that there needed to be some consideration so people wouldn't leave the area. So I felt like we met that challenge, and the big ticket option, as Councilor Walker talked about, it was the accommodation for that. We need to have a sustainable revenue generating opportunity to fund our streets and our roads and our maintenance. We've used one-time monies for the last 7 years, and we can't continue to do that. It's been talked about on social media that, you know, we can get rid of capital improvement projects. We could. That's one-time money. So this revenue stream, we need it. I like the slide that you had at the end, Ms. Moline, that talked about the reporting. So I am hopeful that the citizens will go to that and see that council has every intention and promise to earmark these funds to go to streets and pavement preservation and road maintenance. And I hope that we truly reflect what's being collected and what's being spent on this particular item. So with that, we will go ahead and open up the public hearing. We do only have one person who has signed up to speak, Mr. Lynch. Donald Lynch. Welcome, sir.
Hi, I'm Don Lynch. I'm a resident of Kingman. I know you're going to approve this, but I'm still going to state my opposition to it. You know, if you wouldn't do the things that cost money, like giving a big corporation a big sales tax break in order to get them to come into the city, maybe you wouldn't be headed for this kind of problem. But the point is that when you're doing a tax increase, you can go ahead and say it's for something really important. It's for the police, it's for the hospital, it's for the fire department, whatever. You can say that. But the fact is that when you do a tax increase, it actually funds the least important items on the budget. That stuff that's way down at the bottom. That least productive person on the payroll, that item that we just really don't need, that's what you're funding with the tax increase. Every single time. And I'll note that you already decided that the yellow route is one of those least important things because you've decided to cut it out, although I also understand you're reconsidering. So I'm really saying that, you know, you're worried too much about the reserves and you're worried not enough about the effect of the citizens, the effect of the businesses, etc., of another tax burden on us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'm going to close the public hearing. I've closed the public hearing.
Vice Mayor, it'd probably be
Yes,
best
of course.
just to give them an opportunity.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing again. Ms. Gish, would you like to come up and address the council?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I totally get the need for a tax increase. I'm super excited to see that, we are really focusing on sustainable funding. I did want to note that hotel motel tax can't be used for roads. So I don't think that should necessarily be increased with this, but considered since the 2% for the city has already been used, so that additional would have to go towards tourism. And I don't think that it fits the bill with what we're doing here with roads, so that should be considered as a separate item. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Ms. Moline, would you like to address Ms. Gish? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this item.
I'll second.
Sorry, ordinance number 2003.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Public hearing 5B. Approval of resolution number 5621 CUP 26-0001, a conditional use permit. A proposal to construct a 115,200 square foot, 3-story self-storage facility on 1.79 acres located west of East Andy Devine Avenue and north of Horizon Boulevard in the commercial service business C3 zoning district, county assessor parcel number 320-02-050. Commission recommended approval 4-0. Welcome, Heather.
Good evening, Mayor Watkins, Vice Mayor Semele, and Council. Thank you again for having me this evening. Before you this evening is CUP 26-0001, a conditional use permit application for the project named Powerhouse East Storage. As you can see here on the aerial map, the project site is located on the northwestern edge of Andy Devine Avenue, just north of Horizon Boulevard. This project site is Zone C3, our commercial service business zone. And the project is designated regional commercial of the 2040 general plan. Here you can see the proposed project site plan. The site is approximately 1.79 acres with a building footprint just over 38,000 square feet. As noted, it's approximately planned to be a 3-story plan as proposed here. That's approximately 16% of the total lot area is landscaped. It is proposed on all 4 sides of the property. Elevations here is provided the northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest elevations of the building. It is an entirely enclosed, climate-controlled self-storage facility. Utilities and other improvements. There is a 16-inch water line adjacent the property, however, that is not available for connection. There is an 8-inch water line located across Andy Devine, of which ADOT coordination will also be required, and again, is also already underway. Sewer, there is no sewer access to the property. The septic system will be required, along with the coordination with Mojave County for those septic permits. Roadway access, Andy Devine Avenue is classified as a major arterial roadway with a minimum right-of-way width of 130 feet. And as I mentioned, this portion of Andy Devine is under the jurisdiction of ADOT, along with that coordination. Here you can see recommended conditions of approval as detailed in your staff report. There are 8 recommended conditions. The findings in accordance with Kingman Zoning Code Chapter 2-40.030.d, the CUP meets the required findings as detailed in the Planning and Zoning Commission staff report and as detailed in your staff report before you this evening. All department and external agency comments have been incorporated into the staff report, and no comments have been received from the public to date. This meeting was noticed via mail, site posting, and published in the Kingman Miner. As you can see here, there's something new that you'll begin seeing in our presentations for projects is sharing with you the review timeline and history of the project, as we have been well underway with our new development review process. The date the application was received was April 27th, 2026. We've had one staff review, and it was with staff for 12 days. And it has been held by the applicant 0 days. The applicant and her team were superb in returning comments and edits almost immediately. So total days from application to public hearing, it was 45 days to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was held last week, and 51 days till tonight. With that, we recommend Mayor and Council accept the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation by a vote of 4-0 at its regularly held meeting of June 10th, 2026, and approve CUP 26-0001, subject to conditions of approval 1 through 8. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I would like to also note that the applicant is here with us this evening, should you care to ask her any questions as well.
All right, thank you, Heather. Council, do you have any questions for Heather? No? The applicant, it has signed up to speak. If she would like to come up and speak, that would be appropriate. Sabrina, are you here?
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and excuse me, City Council members. My name is Sabrina Grayton. I am a Kingman resident, and this land has been held with my family for over 20 years. I have owned it for 8 years, and I'm really happy to bring something valuable to the community on a lot that's been vacant for as long as we've owned the land. I also want to thank the Planning Commission, because Jason and his team went above and beyond to help me and my team really produce something I think that is really well designed and a huge benefit to Kingman. So thank you.
A motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to item 5C, adoption of ordinance 2005 Z026-0002, a city-initiated text amendment to the City Kingman zoning code. Z026-0002 removes the additional setback requirements imposed under the Kingman Design Review overlay for properties in the C2 Commercial Community Business and C3 Commercial Service Business zones along Bank Street from Keno Avenue to East Gordon Drive. All other design requirements with respect to architecture, landscaping, and signage as prescribed by the City of Kingman zoning code and that of the KDRO remain in force. Staff recommends approval. Welcome again, Heather.
Thank you. Get this up on the screen for everyone. There we go. Well, thank you again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Before you this evening is a city-initiated text amendment for the Kingman Design Review Overlay, case number Z026-0002. The applicant is the City of Kingman Development Services Department. In 2004, a city-initiated rezone was approved for approximately 16 acres of parcels located along Bank Street, south of Gordon Drive and north of Airway Avenue. This rezone was from rural residential to commercial C2, which is community business, in order to align with the goals of the 2040 Kingman Land Use General Plan and the plan for the commercial corridor. At the April 21st, 26th City Council meeting, Council directed staff to develop an infill incentive district program focused on 4 commercial corridors: Airway Avenue, Bank Street, Hualapai Mountain Road, and Beale Street. At the June 2nd, 26th meeting, Council approved the program, confirming the 4 commercial corridors that the program would focus on. Currently, Bank Street corridor lies within the boundaries of the Kingman Design Review Overlay Zone, which imposes additional design standards, specifically increased setbacks for commercial development on Bank Street between Airway and Gordon. These increased setbacks and stringent application have been preventing the properties from being developed in accordance with the goals of the council and the intent of the rezone and infill incentive district program. Requested tonight is to amend section 3-70.030 of the zoning ordinance to remove section 3-70.030.c.1, which requires additional setback requirements in the KRDO. Based on the findings made in the staff report, the text amendment is recommended for your approval. There we go. So as I mentioned, we are recommending removal of section 3-70.030.c.1, requiring those extra setbacks. The purpose would be to aid in the implementation of the general plan and encourage sound design principles, ensuring the compatibility of uses, encourage attractive buildings, and to promote and enhance the general welfare of the residents in the community. The KDRO establishes site development standards, building design standards, and building material standards in designated areas of the overlay maps. Excuse me. The KDRO standards, as you see here, the section that we are proposing that be struck is that the site development requirements require a minimum setback of 20 feet from all property lines. And we have seen several projects not be able to make those setbacks due to the size of the lots along Bank Street, therefore not being able to accomplish the goal of developing commercial throughout that corridor. And this is exactly what that would look like in the printed zoning code. One thing to note that along Bank Street, you do have immediate. In conclusion, the proposed amendment updates the city's zoning code to provide additional support for the development of the Bank Street commercial corridor, provides support for the city's new infill incentive district program, is supported by the findings prescribed in the Kingman zoning code and as discussed in the staff report, and is supported by the goals of the General Plan 2040. In accordance with Kingman Zoning Code Chapter 2-50.040.c.4, the proposed zone text amendment meets the required findings as detailed in the staff report. Department and external agency comments have been incorporated into those staff reports, and no comments have been received from the public to date. This meeting was published in the Kingman Miner on May 27th. With that, staff recommends Mayor and City Council adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation approval by a vote of 4-0 at its regularly held meeting of June 10th, 2026, and approve ZO 26-0002 based on the findings contained in the staff report. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions, comments? No? I'll open up the public hearing. We do not have anyone scheduled to speak, so I will close the public hearing. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2005-Z026-002. I got in too deep with that.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to department reports. 6A, report to the City Council regarding weight limits on Airway Avenue and heavy truck traffic around town due to construction on I-40. Mr. Petrillo. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. At the May 7th, I believe it was, council hearing, Councilman Savage raised the question about truck traffic, potentially truck traffic on Airway, generating the need to possibly put weight limits on the roadway there. As you remember, our Airway and Flying Fortress project, there's totally different pavement section on Flying Fortress versus Airway. Flying Fortress, because the anticipated development and the type of development is anticipated to have a considerable truck traffic on it, and because of that, we, with council support, went with a concrete pavement section. It's 10 inches of concrete on 4 inches of aggregate base. And it's basically the same section that ADOT is building at the interchange, which incidentally is all in place now. I drove by yesterday and it's concrete all the way to the north limit. Looks beautiful. On Airway was a different situation. The amount of traffic, the type of traffic anticipated there really didn't warrant the extra expense. And I mean, it was considerable because we actually bid an alternate, a concrete alternate there. Primary reason we did that is because there was a lot of uncertainty at the time of the bid about what was going to happen with asphalt prices. So we bid it as just a comparison, and it was still excessive compared to the AC option. So a little bit about the way that pavements are designed. There's really three main factors. One is the total traffic and the percentage of that traffic that is trucks. And then, of course, the other is the soil conditions, the bearing capacity of the soil there. You're, pretty much stuck with whatever the soil is there unless you want to go to a lot of expense to upgrade the bearing capacity, which was not necessary. So it really boils down to the traffic. Now, believe it or not, the stress put on a pavement section by one loaded semi, it takes 9,600 cars to impart the same stress on the pavement. And this is, by the way, that's only 960 cars, so it's 10 times that many of them on there. So the real factor is the number of trucks. We went back and reviewed the geotech report for the pavement design on Airway. And you basically design an AC pavement for 20-year design life. And the average daily traffic that's projected is 3,300 vehicles a day, 5% trucks, which means that it's basically designed to carry 165 trucks a day, which is far and away beyond anything that is realistically going to happen there in the foreseeable future. Now, as you mentioned, depending on what gets developed in that vacant, that half mile from there on over to Flying Fortress could change that considerably. I think it would still be really surprising if there's 165 trucks a day, but what our proposal would be is to monitor the truck traffic as that development takes place. And when we get probably approaching about 150 trucks a day, that's the point at which we would start considering imposing a weight limit. And there's various types of, there's a whole array of different approaches to putting weight limits on the road. And I think we'd have to see what the mix of traffic is, what's really causing the problem. But so right now, I think the pavement section is more than adequate for any realistic amount of truck traffic in the near future. But if development does take place that generates adequate traffic, this is the approach we would take. Okay, traffic diversion into the downtown area mainly on Stockton Hill Road and Andy Devine. There's two things that are probably the main cause. One is the construction of the new interchange over at Beale Street. But the other one is that there is an overlay project, which is virtually done now, on the interstate itself that went all the way over to Rattlesnake Wash. And that, from my own observations, that seemed to cause more truck diversion than the interchange project. The typical delay, at least that ADOT is claiming for the interchange project, was, 2 to 5 minutes. By diverting off, if a truck is in that traffic jam caused by that, the chances that he's going to go down either Stockton Hill or Andy Devine to bypass, if it's that magnitude of delay, there probably aren't too many. It's going to take them that long just to do the detour. But there were huge backups when they were doing the overlay project. I mean, it was backed up way past the Andy Devine interchange. And that project is, for all practical purposes, finished now. So I think that we're going to be seeing less trucks diverting through Andy Devine and Stockton Hill than we did. I mean, it's never going to go away until the TI project is finished. But unfortunately, I do not have the actual number of trucks that we had some counts, Jack's department did some counts on Andy Devine, I think at 2 locations. And they did definitely detect, an increase in the truck traffic. And if you want to get into specifics, I can have Jack come up and give you the actual numbers. But there was definitely a noticeable increase in the diversion of trucks through there, although I highly suspect that, number one, with the virtual completion of the overlay project, we're not going to be seeing anywhere near the number of trucks diverting. And of course, obviously, once the TI project is finished, it should really help. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Councilman Savage? No?
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you. That's what my concern was, the future. I knew we'd be okay right now, but I'm happy that when we feel that it's adequate and ready to start monitoring it, we're going to monitor it, and it could happen in the future, but thank you very much.
No, we can always do a concrete overlay.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions from council? Councilor Staley?
You had mentioned that you received bids to pave Airway with both concrete and asphalt. How much more were the bids to pave it with concrete?
Twice as much.
Twice as much.
Twice as much. For the pavement part of it, I mean, there's,
Yeah.
the box culverts and that was a fix that didn't really matter what. But for the pavement portion of it, it's almost twice.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Robert. All right, moving on to Department Report 6B, Quarterly Purchase Report. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'm Wendy Shear, and I'm here this evening to present to you the first quarterly purchase report. Just to give you a bit of background on this, back in February of this year, the council approved amendments to our existing procurement code, and those amendments went into effect on March 6th. Part of those changes included increases to our procurement thresholds. As you can see on the report there at the bottom, those are the new thresholds. They all changed with the exception of specialized services and technical registrants. Those remained 50,000 or greater would be approved by council and also would go through the formal bidding process. As part of these changes, it was determined at the time that council would be presented with a quarterly report of those purchases that didn't go to council under the amended code, but would have went to council under the previous code. I think it's important to note that there's 2 items on here. I would expect in the future that we would see several more. This was during the transition period where we had our existing procurement code we had some procurements that were already in process. So those did get approved by council, and there was 4 of those. So we would have had 6, but the 4 did go through the old process. And so on this report, the purpose of this is really just to provide transparency, accountability on our procurement processes, as well as provide the council with some oversight over those purchases still. We expect the format to be like this every quarter. The next period will cover June, July, and August, and will be presented in September. This report covers March, April, and May. There's 2 items on here totaling $117,514. One purchase was to Motorola for the renewal of some existing software that we already have in place. The other purchase was to 928 Steel, and that was for the purchase of police canopies. I think it's important to note that these purchases did comply with our procurement code. And we have some charts here just to show you kind of the purchasing methods that were used for each item. So with that, I'll keep it brief tonight. I know it's getting late, so if you guys, if the council has any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we do not have Tom Dorn on line with us, so we will not have a legislative report unless you want to jump in, Tim, and give us any kind of update.
I can give you just a couple quick ones.
Okay, great.
So the legislature has adjourned. They are done. They've adopted a budget. A couple of important things to note is we had 2 appropriations from last year. They survived. There was a number of clawbacks. Those survived. Those were for the $3 million for the well, and then the $1.5 million for Eastern. Those have continued. So we're still moving forward on both of those projects. Those are both in design, so we're hoping to be able to get those started soon. The one other item of note, the item that we've all been tracking as far as the not referendum. What's the word I'm looking at? The House concurrent resolution, that moratorium, that's the word I was looking for. Placed a moratorium on any changes in fees or that did die, so that is not moving forward. And lastly, Annie will really like this, the legislature has approved Senator Angus's changes to notification. It's sitting on the governor's desk. We're urging her to sign it, so we're hoping that goes through. Thank you, that's all I have.
Great, thank you for the update, Tim. All right, item number 7, announcements by mayor, council members, city manager. Manager Walsh.
Nothing more to add, thank you.
Councilor Walker. Nothing. Councilor Savage.
Nothing tonight.
Councilor Ward. Staley. Councilor Dykens. All right, I have nothing as well. Item number 8, council requests for future reports and updates. Councilor Walker.
I'd just like to thank staff and planning and zoning for the project that was before us tonight. Seems like it went through fairly quick. They still got to come back with building and engineering, but I think that was a really good goal that they hit, and hopefully they continue.
Great, thanks. Councilor Savage.
Nothing tonight.
Councilor Ward. Councilor Staley. Councilor Dykens. I do want to ask for an update on the yellow bus. I'm hoping that hits our agenda the second meeting in July. If not, can it be a report of what is being investigated, what is, have we had any progress, any success, and where we are?
So we will actually have that on our next council meeting as part of the budget adoption. That will be an item that we'll bring up just to give you an update.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right. With that, we have no other executive session. We are adjourned.